This episode is brought to you by Muntins Malts, a company that is passionate about providing premium malts to brewers worldwide. For over a century, Muntins has been a leading supplier of brewing and distilling malts, offering the finest British malted barley on the market. You can experience the difference Muntins offers by joining a recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club, because every kit that ships out now includes premium Muntins malt. You know, we've known the Muntins crew for a long time, and I can tell you, friend, you're going to love brewing with their grains. Ask your local supply shop to carry Muntins malts, or homebrewers can join our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, be a part of the community, and come brew with us. Thank you, Muntins, for supporting our efforts and homebrewers worldwide. Today's show is brought to you by Hopsdirect.com. Grown in the esteemed Yakima Valley on the Peterball family farm, Hopsdirect.com offers the widest variety of hops available online at incredibly competitive pricing. It's simple. They grow hops, they sell hops, and they ship hops straight from their family-owned farm to your doorstep. Producing the highest quality hops is Hopsdirect.com's passion, and they're proud to be an independent grower in the craft beer industry. Go to Hopsdirect.com right now and get what you need to make your brew day better. That's Hopsdirect.com. Today's show is brought to you by Imperial Yeast. You hear us gushing over Imperial Yeast all the time, and that's because their yeast performs for us in every batch that we brew. Imperial Yeast is adored by commercial breweries and home brewers alike. Their pitch-right pouches are jam-packed with over 200 billion fresh yeast cells, guaranteed to deliver flawless, fast fermentations every time. Imperial Yeast strains are grown by a team of pro brewers and home brewers who live to help other brewers learn more and ferment better. Join any recipe receiving tier of our Trub Club and get a free upgrade to premium Imperial Yeast with every recipe kit that ships out to you. Learn more at homebrewhappyhour.com/club and come brew with us.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Extending dry yeast shelf life. Do gravity readings matter? Full flow control versus limited flow control. And which direction do I whirlpool? This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 361. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. And if you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you could go to homebrewhappyhour.com. You could click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Get yourself a $15 gift card, but even better, you could call our hotline, 325-305-6107. Leave us a voicemail. I used your voicemail on a future episode. You get yourself a $25 gift card to ketconnection.com. But more importantly, you get your question answered and we get content. It's a win-win kind of thing for everything. Either way, I'm one of your hosts, Joshua Stubing, joined as always, they're back. He is the director of operations at cmbecker.com over there, Mr. James Carlson, as well as the president and chief keg washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's so exciting to be back.
Yeah. One of you.
There's something really. Are y'all getting that really weird sound?
Is it my voice?
No. Oh no, I got it now.
Okay.
This box that you keep saying you're going to replace.
Yeah.
It is on its last leg.
Okay.
Like I can. Yeah.
I'm gonna replace it. Don't worry about that.
No, we don't have any. We don't have any
money. So that leads me to my first small talk. Join the Trub Club Patreon at Homebrew Happy Hour, or patreon.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. Get Todd sponsor for only 5 cents a day. You can sponsor a Todd Burns in the world. One of you is still burly, and I was looking at James as the most baby face I've seen you in a while. When did you start growing the beard? I feel like you've had it the whole 2023.
Oh, I've had it for going on 4 years now.
Oh, without a break, without a clean face,
Without a break.
Okay,
yeah.
4 years is a lot longer. I was say I couldn't.
Well,
remember.
it's got to be longer than that because it was 2018. Yeah, it's 4 years.
Dang, yeah, or 5 of 28. Yeah, that's wild. What? Just a change of pace?
Yeah, just something different.
Yeah, and Todd, though, you look like you just trimmed yours too. You're really pulling off the modern sleek Santa Claus.
Yeah, I did. I trimmed it all up after I got back from Germany. I had lots of time since I was at home sick for several days with COVID, but I'm feeling great now, and it's nice to be back on the show.
Let's do a recap real quick before I get into other small talk. Y'all get back. Y'all went after Nuremberg for the Brow. How was attendance at the Brow, and then how was the weather? Because I know it turned when y'all went to Munich. But talk about the Brow real quick. How was it this year? Good attendance? Did you make good connections? Lots of representation of other companies. How was the Brow?
One thing I noticed that really stuck out to me is there were very few Americans there this year. Almost none. I know the guys from More Beer were there, but I never saw them. I just kept hearing from people that they had talked to them. So, but like Owen and his brother was there, but I don't know about. I just didn't see a lot of the people that I usually see there. The show itself was really slow the first day, and then super busy the second day, and then slow the third day. It's they do it for 10 hours a day, isn't it? 10 hours, James?
Yeah,
and it's 30 hours, and then you're busy for about 6 or 8 of those hours. So they could probably shorten it down a little bit, and it'd be fine with me.
That's funny. Yeah. Olin, not Owen. You always mix.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. No, you're good because you always mix up him and Imperial.
I know. Olin.
Yeah.
Olin.
Because you've called Owen Olin, and you've called Olin. Either way, you also in years past, I know you almost always run into Charlie Papazian. Was he there? Did you get to?
I don't think he was there. He's retired now. I don't think he's doing as much.
Like really?
Well, we
retired.
ran into Horst and had a great conversation.
Gosh, that was fun.
Yeah. I think y'all sent that to me on WhatsApp. If not,
we were at the booth.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, he just him and his wife come walking up, and I peeked around 2 people. I pointed at him and I said, "Horst, is that really you?" And we had a great conversation.
Oh my God, Josh, you would have loved it. He talked to Stefan for a long time, but he because when I explained I first tried to get him to act like he didn't know German, and then he started talking to Stefan in German, but then he switched over to an extremely old dialect from Dusseldorf and started speaking in that, and Stefan was like, I have no idea what he's saying.
That's hilarious. Oh, that's like, remember when Pedro worked for us and he would brag, he would be all like super proud Mexican, and we'd speak Spanish and he'd have no idea what we were saying. Something like that.
I know, but this was even more different. It would be like, he was speaking some dialect of the language that, because he was born there and so was Stefan.
Yeah.
But, separated by a few years. Yeah. And he's a fascinating guy. He knows multiple languages. He just wrote a really extensive book that they published electronically, and he wants to get back on the show. We've got a few people that we need to get back on the show. But we have a new rule on the show. Josh feels like if there's somebody else on the show, he excludes James and I.
The last 2 weeks, y'all were gone. You were gone.
I'm not referring to that. I'm just referring to every time you have a guest now, you take us off the show. From now on, and I know the reason you feel like it's too many people on the show.
Frequently, I do.
From now on, if we exclude somebody, we have to exclude you.
I love that idea. I told you that. Todd had actually, I called your bluff or accepted your offer. You're like, I'm going to do a show without you. It'll be just me, James, and someone. I go, I would, not even kidding, not because I don't want to be on it. I would love that. You could just record it. I will do the process.
Oh no, I still want you to record it and everything. I just want you to say. I just want you to
background producer.
Yeah. I
The
just
show
want you to be a producer. Yeah, in the background.
Okay, we'll have to figure out how to do that. Because you don't want my face on the screen though. We'll have to hide me and keep.
Oh yeah. We don't want you on there at all.
I would actually.
We want to exclude. We want to purposely exclude you like you do with us, because he's James. He's done this several times now where he doesn't even tell us he's got a guest, and then we get ready to do the podcast. And he's like, "Oh, I already recorded this."
The word several.
Episode.
The word several is misused there. Last week, Todd texted me and was like, "Well, what do you have lined up for this week? I didn't see a PDF," and I was like, "Oh, I forgot y'all were coming back on Wednesday. I thought y'all were arriving your flight Wednesday, not in the office Wednesday. And you were sick anyway. You're like, but I could do the show." I was like, I already recorded an interview with Ryan.
And then what about the show before that you did like that?
Oh, well, the week before y'all were literally in Germany, and I didn't have you on. But you mean the last interview I had? Yes, I was like, oh, I already recorded it because I did it like on a Monday night and didn't tell you. But when I tried to do that at HomebrewCon, I was just going to do a one-on-one interview with Nick from Muntins. You forced your way into it. You were like, you said,
I see what's going on here.
You did.
Yeah, I see what's going on here.
I know people who watch, because I mentioned it too. I was like, you forced your way on it. People are like, oh yeah, we could tell he really enjoys doing that. Anyway, though, glad the brow was good. Glad you're feeling better, because you sounded like death last week.
Oh yeah, it was not good. It was not good. Oh, and James, you at least quickly tell them about what happened in Munich.
We got there. No sooner than we got there, we noticed, wow, snow is everywhere. They shut the airport down. They shut the train stations down. And a good thing that we weren't leaving that weekend, because we just got to enjoy the snow, walk around, went to a badass automotive museum, got to talk to a actual retired BMW engineer. The last car he helped engineer was the i7, I think is what he said, but it was amazing. The museum was one of the best I've ever seen.
I got a picture from Todd's wife of Todd playing in the snow, and your wife is a Mexican woman. My mom's a Mexican woman. Where I'm going with this, your wife, Todd, felt so vindicated that you got sick, because they all believe you go out in the cold, you're gonna get sick, and this is where
you're gonna catch your death of cold.
Exactly, every time. Or like, oh, God forbid if your hair's a little wet and you go outside and it's cold, then that's just like. But this is also, like, speaking for my mom, I can't say your wife. This is also the same woman who I grew up with telling me, if you watch a dog poop, you get a sty in your eye. So, like, forgive me if I don't take her medical expertise, but now that she has access to the internet, but you're
never heard that before.
Oh yeah,
my hair's not blonde anymore. But when I was a little kid and we would go to Mexico and ride on the buses or trains, every single person, every female that I passed by would touch my head.
Was that to prevent ojo or something about blonde kids?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think so.
But either way, I'm just telling you, Liz had she was upset you were sick, but she was like, I told him. I was like, you sound like my mom. Just like, wait a minute, I told you so. If you,
to be fair, my grandmother, who was a Smith and is white as white bread, felt exactly the same way.
Okay, maybe. Oh,
if you boys get back out from that cold, you're going to catch your death of cold out there.
Your death of cold. Oh my gosh. But anyways, just so you know, yeah, she predicted the future when you sent that photo to her of you playing in the snow. But I will say, guys, I am glad y'all got back, because it looked like y'all were going to have an extended stay. That was the most snow I think I've ever seen in a cityscape. Like, the stuff that Liz was showing me was just, I don't want to make up a number. It looked like 5 feet deep. Like, I mean, it was maybe like over a foot deep, between a foot and 2 feet. But we talked to several people that I talked to a guy who was probably 25, and he said he lived there his whole life. It was the most snow they had ever gotten in his life. So it had been at least 25 years or 20 now
years.
Like Dusseldorf and Cologne have their central beer scene, alt beer, Cologne, and Kolsch. What is it in Munich? Like, did y'all hit up a
Helles
every time? It was the
Everybody has Helles. Yeah.
James wasn't complaining. That's fantastic.
No, that's good. I mean, we had the only one that we had that was, I think there was something wrong is we went to the Polaner restaurant in Frankfurt at the bus station, the train
station. Yeah.
And it tasted a little sour, didn't it, Todd?
Yeah, it was off, definitely. And we thought, well, maybe that's a attribute of their particular Helles. And then we had one in Munich and it was wonderful. So the beer
we actually had
gone
one.
bad.
Oh,
it was in their tap room in Munich.
Yeah.
And it was delicious.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You know, we actually could, if Josh, we could take the whole episode and just talk about our trip if you want to. James and I are fine with that.
Oh, no, I lost connection with Todd and James. The rest of the episode. Oh, no, they're back. Okay, they're back. I do.
Maybe you could just take yourself off the screen and have the two of us.
I hate you
and
so
we'll
much.
just talk about that the whole
time. I know you didn't watch the last two episodes because I just taught. That's all I did.
I did. I heard. Yeah, I was sick. So I heard.
Well, you know what else I want to bring up is, and I didn't realize it. We got to meet Kenneth. Came to the booth from Muntins. And he's an avid listener of the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
And that really made me feel good. So well, make you feel good too, Josh.
We got to meet several.
Victoria was there, and she was sweet.
Oh yeah,
get to meet them. We got to see them because we had met them before, but they were so gracious, and we spent a lot of time talking to them in their booth, and Kenneth spent a lot of time at our booth, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no,
they've been great.
Yeah, I saw that picture in WhatsApp, and a great picture. Y'all, the Muntins crew can clean up. Who would have thunk?
Nobody recognized me.
They're like,
Kenneth didn't recognize me.
That's hilarious.
From New Zealand didn't recognize me. I put my arm around him, and he gave me this side look like of terror.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And then he went, "Oh, James?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, you clean up."
That's hilarious. That's
because we were wearing suits.
Yeah, you're in suits. Yeah.
I mean, we don't. I don't know if you've known this, if the listeners know this, but we don't usually wear suits.
And I'm surprised you didn't have to buy a new one. The last time I went with you, Todd, it was a different version of you. It was when we were doing our weight loss competition.
So I bought a suit I've bought a suit since then. That is my skinny suit, which someday I may wear again, but I'm back in the fat suit now. So.
I like that one day I'm aspiring to fit into your skinny suit because then I'll have an extra suit. Right now, my suit is a tight fit. But if I could grow into yours, we're about the same height. I could just grow into it.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, let me get through the rest of this. I want to thank everyone at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. We're over the 6,000 subscriber mark. That's not great in the bigger picture of channels, but we love it because we've only been organic, the growth. It has been through word of mouth. It has been through the sometimes working in our favor algorithm, but it's all organic. It's people who have discovered us from their friends, their homebrew club, whatever. I want to just say thank you and tell y'all how much we appreciate everyone who subscribes at youtube.com/Homebrew Happy Hour. And if you do us a favor, liking the content you watch, commenting, and hitting the notification bell, I've been told greatly helps the algorithm. I think I already told you, Todd, I did that 8 weeks of experimenting. Google or YouTube Analytics was like, hey, you should try different publishing time and do an A/B test and Turns out people didn't consume our show more when I published it earlier. But let me know how, if the people who engage with us the most are usually the people we tailor stuff for. So if you're like, Josh, I've been loving you publishing it before noon on Thursdays, that's great. But according to analytics, publishing it Thursday night is just as ideal, if not better. So I might go back to that unless enough people say, Josh, I like the time you've been doing now, just keep it. I'm a man of the people, Todd. So let me know on that.
And always remember, you don't actually have to like it to push the like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's That's again Kenneth from Muntins, my dad, my numerous cousins who I pay to watch the show. It's not much; they're children, but pay them to click like. Also, beyond that, it is last call at ketconnection.com. Basically, last call by the time you're listening to this. If you want your stuff to arrive in time for Christmas. So people watching this are probably like, well, I'd be ordering it for myself. No, send the link to your loved one and say, cough, cough, hint, hint. This is what I want. Todd, I'm featuring on this. Oh, nope, that's jumping ahead. We just launched on the website the Ultimate Keg Accessory Bundle. It is available in pinlock or ball lock versions. I love it. I've talked about it on the show, the various components. Todd finally made the kit, and I finally put it on the website. It includes that a fermenting lid with an airlock in it, a spunding valve. It includes jumper line. It includes the quick carb lid, and it includes the lid with the floating dip tube, all for $98. That is a heck of a deal. People, if you have a keg, I'm telling you, this kit will make that keg that much more versatile and dynamic. Not just to be a salesman, but go to kegconnection.com. It's on the homepage. You can't miss the slide. Again, ball lock and pin lock version. Making this kit, Todd, is when I realized not a lot of people selling spunding valves with pin lock disconnects on them.
No, I think we're very unique in that. And,
I wonder why.
Yeah.
No, I mean, is there that few of people using pin lock kegs?
No, there's a ton.
There's
of
a ton, right?
Pinlock kegs, yeah.
Yeah, so
because we care about pinlock keg users. That's why, Josh.
Yeah, that's right. Y'all matter to us.
You matter to us.
So, and then also, I hit the wrong button earlier. So, spoiler alert: the last bit of small talk that I've got. The December recipe kit is a delicious London Porter. It's a Todd Burns recipe special. I am excited to get this out in people's hands. It is an ale. People have responded on our patreon.com/homebrew happy hour post. They've direct messaged me, Josh, wait, I thought porters were lagers. No, London Porters are ales. Look it up. Fuller's, I believe, is probably the most popular commercial version of an authentic London Porter, and it's definitely an ale. So you can go again to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, join a recipe receiving tier, and get the delicious London Porter kit shipped out to you this month. My plan, Todd, is to do it when I'm up there next week. So, I'm off this weekend, and Monday is my anniversary on Friday. I'm taking my wife to the beach. Got a beach house.
I don't remember you taking off this weekend.
Oh, it's on your calendar, buddy. It's on your calendar.
You're always off on the weekend.
No, but I mean Friday and Monday. I'm off. It's on your calendar. Because I say Friday I'm off. I'm
that's so funny because we're going to the exact same place 3 days after you get back.
Yeah, the same beach, not the same place. You can't get
the same beach.
Yeah, but the house I got is just very, very exclusive. It's
we're just staying at like Hilton, Hampton, or something like that.
Oh, you're using points. Nice. Or you're not using points. You're building points.
I don't remember if I paid for it or used points. It was that's one nice thing about Padre Island. It's so inexpensive in the winter.
Oh, super cheap. The beach house we got's on that road that goes towards the pier. So like going up it, very nice little house. And yeah, I think total, it was under $600 for Friday, Saturday, Sunday night and leaving Monday, which again, for a beach house, that's dirt cheap for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, whatever. But either way, back to what I was saying, the London Porter, thank you to our incredible sponsors. In case y'all skipped them at the front of the show, which I know a lot of you heathens do, Munson's Malts for providing premium grains, hopsdirect.com for the wonderful hops we're using, and of course, our friends at Imperial Yeast for sending us the most premium liquid yeast on the market. Our favorite yeast always performs every time for us. We appreciate our sponsors. Okay, so I've got 4 questions today because one of them's not really a question. It's a goofball thing. And I've got listener feedback. So with all this being said, it's time for listener feedback. It is another episode of the Marut Minute. Todd did email me. He was like, is Jonathan the only one who leaves feedback? And I said, actually, for the most part, he is one of the few people. So this is a solicitation.
I know. I was just so tired of listening. Oh, wait. He listens.
Yeah, we're recording. We're recording.
Good. Jonathan's on.
Yeah, we're recording. Send us feedback. But either way, this is another edition of the Marut Long Minute, and he called in about some feedback about sanitizing kegs and beer lines.
Hey guys, it's Jonathan from Fort Worth again. I'm back to soak up some more of Todd's cash to spend at Keg Connection. I just wanted to give a little feedback about the question of sanitizing kegs and beer lines. If I'm cleaning either of those items to go right back into use, then I don't use any sanitizer. But if I'm cleaning a keg, I'm typically cleaning several, and they'll sit idle until they're filled again. It could be a few weeks. In that case, I'll put a bit of sanitizer in each one, maybe a few ounces, and swish it around and seal it up. As part of my oxygen purging process later on at fill time, each keg will get filled with sanitizer, which is then pushed out by CO2 to the next empty keg. So this bit of sanitizer is just added to the mix. A similar situation occurs with my portable keg serving recycling bin. I take this to parties and pour kegs from it. Kegs sit on ice. Everybody likes it. Between events, these taps will sit idle for a good period of time. I don't want stuff to grow in those lines, so I always flush with sanitizer and then drain before putting into storage. Anyway, that's what works for me. Just my 2 cents. Josh, make sure you order your awesome podcast host trophy as soon as possible. Hope to see you all soon.
I had, when I interviewed Brian, the 2023 Alt Pokal winner, I had mentioned, Todd, it's much easier rather than trying to win competitions to just create fake ones and make trophies for them. So I'm going to start using Homebrew Happy Hour money to line my office with medals and trophies.
I like it.
That's the Josh Stubing way. That's all I know. It's like,
well, I mean, James and I, we both know you're a winner.
Oh.
So we want you to do that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You didn't hear the part where I said,
I want to put a disclaimer on Jonathan's comment. He said something that's very important. When you put sanitizer in lines and you're going to leave them, he said he puts the sanitizer in there and then he drains it. Make sure you drain it because that sanitizer will turn that line into kind of a white, mushy stuff if you leave it in there too long. James, you ever notice when you leave stuff in sanitizer, it starts to turn color. So you definitely, after you do that, you definitely want to drain the liquid out. I think the most important thing when you're storing stuff is to not leave liquid in it. Usually when we run across lines that are, have black growth in them and stuff, it's because they left beer in there.
Yeah.
But even water that has a little beer that's still in the line will start to eat it pretty fast. So draining it, airing it out is real important.
Yeah, and my favorite airing out method I call the woo 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 method.
Yep.
I love
That's so funny.
I do that too.
I do the same thing.
It is. My dad and I, it's like, let that line dry. So one of us will step outside and whoo, woo, 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 as we're swinging it violently for people who are only listening to audio. I'm helicopter motioning with my hand because I'm holding the liquid line. I will say, like you said, yeah, you absolutely have to drain it. I don't know how often it would happen at home brewing, but have you read those stories of commercial breweries making people sick? And one guy actually died last year or maybe earlier this year because they left the line cleaner in their lines and served it. And when some guy ended up drinking damn near a pint of it and dying, where not speaking.
I did not hear that. I know there's a real famous case where somebody took a big sip and it basically destroyed their throat.
No, yeah, it was this year. I know for a fact the story that I'm thinking of happened where one person did die from drinking line cleaner that was left at a commercial from a tap room. And you'd have to think though, like a sip of I've never done it, but I can't imagine it resembles any kind of beer, even though we joked like, a triple hazy looks like dishwater and it tastes like it too. Ha, ha, ha. But no, sanitizer is very distinct. You'd think a sip of it and you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, but that's not sanitizer they're talking about. They're talking about an acid-based line cleaner.
Okay. But, I mean,
so they basically drank acid.
But that's still... I mean, yeah, not to argue semantics. It's for the point of sanitizing the line is why it was in the line, right?
Well, I mean, the acid-based cleaner that they circulate is it dissolves all that crap that's on the line. And everything.
Okay, yeah, okay. I do what you're saying. Functionally, it's different, but it's accomplishing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so thank you, Jonathan. Again, we're not tired of hearing your voice, but other people leave us feedback on questions that you hear throughout any given show. And when I play your voicemail on a future episode, you get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. That hotline for our voicemail is 325-305-6107. And our first question of the show is a voicemail. It's our buddy John from Delaware.
Hi, Todd, James, and Josh. This is John from Delaware. I've been all grain brewing for 33 years, starting while I was in college, brewing at least one 5-gallon batch per month for all these years, and still loving it every minute of it. I'm lucky enough to have a large brew room in my finished basement and have what I would call doomsday prepper quantities of every brewing ingredient known to man. Backstory, I worked as a brewer's apprentice at a local brewery that recently closed, so I have around 1,100 pounds of grains and about 150 pounds of various hops. Yes, it is a good problem to have. My wife is not so sure, though. My question is this. I switched over to dry yeast exclusively at the beginning of COVID, and as you can imagine, I have an ungodly amount of yeast packets in my brew room fridge. Can I or should I place them in the freezer to extend their shelf life? I've read conflicting information online about this, and I'm more confused now than I was. Any help you could give would be appreciated. And Josh, you are right. Kolsch rules. Thanks, guys, and love the podcast. Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.
John got his question on the show. He knew what to do. Yeah, I
John, don't encourage him.
I get conflicting info too. I'm going to throw it to James first because James is the guy who talked me into storing DME in case I need it and dry yeast in case I need it. That no shot at you, Imperial, but sometimes I don't have enough pouches, and if the conditions were wrong or whatever, I got to sprinkle. Or if I'm trying to just brew quick and I can't wait on the pouches, I have to use the 05. Or I just keep a Chico strain. You've had me store it, James, either on the short term in the fridge, but you've seemingly had no issue with also in the freezer. We have some in both at headquarters. Is there do you have a rule of thumb of if I don't need it for a long time, I'm going to put it in the freezer.
Freeze it.
And then fridge would be more the short term. What's the thought process though behind the freezer? Because some people have asked me like, wouldn't that kill the viability? I'm like, bro, I don't know the science. I just do it and it still works.
I do quite a bit of cooking, and I do baking, and y'all know I do a lot of pizza and breads and stuff like that. So I keep all my yeast in the freezer. It just keeps longer. I don't ever have to worry about. Now, of course, I always test it, and you hydrate it and you look for activity, and I haven't had any issues. So if you've got in other words, if you've got some SAO5, which is my standby, if you're brewing at home, trust me, get 2 or 3 packs, just throw them in your freezer because you never know when you need them. From time to time, liquid yeast is nice, but the viability goes down over time. So for some reason, you've got a stuck fermentation, not saying that that's what it is, but it's nice to have something like that in the back to fall back on in case you do have a stuck fermentation. The only thing I would tell you is this: if you're storing it in the freezer, just make sure you pull it out and let it get to room temp before you hydrate it. Because I have run into issues when I've shocked the yeast when it's frozen and tried to hydrate it with warm water, and it seems to not work as good. So I'll let it sit on the counter a few minutes. You can even pour it into a bowl and just kind of shake it and spread it out and it'll get room temp quicker. But I've found that if you're going to keep it in the freezer like I do, let it pull it out, let it get to room temp before you hydrate it. Hydrate it to make sure it's viable and it's working. If you see activity, you're good to go. Pitch it and you're done.
Now, yeah, freezer, like you said, keeping it in the freezer, you can forget about it and only have to pull it out when you need it. Todd, I've opened up your fridge in the barn a gazillion times, mostly at like 1 a.m. when I'm getting the milk out to pour a bowl of cereal because I'm a sugar addict. But you always have 05 in there as well. And I think you have the blue. I always say K97, and that's not right. That's like, what is their lager one? 3410? Is that what it is?
Is it 3478?
34. Regardless, y'all know which one I'm talking about, the blue one.
Yeah, 34.
But you just keep them in the fridge. Now, is that, Todd, because of a storage thing, or is the fridge for you good enough because you cycle through? I mean, the fridge is probably going to still also keep it pretty long, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the dry yeast now is viable for like 3 years, I believe, on the package. So, I mean, I usually use it before that, but there's absolutely no problem with storing yeast in the freezer. You can store yeast in the freezer or the fridge, but obviously it's going to last longer in the freezer. I read this thing, and I was trying to find it real quick, but I can't find it. But I read a thing a while back that talked about a guy that was tearing down some kind of a structure like in the Arctic. I don't know if it was Antarctica or what's the other one. Anyway, he was tearing it down, and they found some yeast that was like 100 years old, and he took it back to the ship and baked bread with it.
Shut up.
Wow.
I'll try to find the story.
Okay.
But yeah, that it was still viable after all that time.
It was on Shackleton's last journey when he was cooking up
Yep.
one of his crewmates. He made some nice bread to go with.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to have to eat a crewmate, some nice warm bread would really help the situation, you know?
And a nice
A
Chianti.
beer would even be better.
Yeah.
Sorry, James. What?
You know, Los Angeles lambs with a nice fava beans
That's
and a
right,
nice
the fava,
Chianti.
yeah.
Right.
Oh God.
So yeah, but definitely you could definitely freeze yeast. The only issue you could possibly run into freezing yeast, whether it's baking yeast or brewing yeast, is you want it to be in the package, or if it's not in the package, you want to make sure it stays dry. Anytime that dry yeast gets a little bit of moisture in it, then that could destroy it when you freeze it with any moisture in it.
Right. And also, though, you ended up saying it, but just to clarify, not liquid yeast, guys. Don't freeze liquid yeast. That
Will totally kill it.
That will kill it. The functionality is, and the packaging of them is different. It's not. That's why also though,
because liquid yeast definitely has moisture in it.
right? Yeah, it does. But I'm
Yeah.
Todd, I'm telling you, you'd be surprised. Listen, I don't mind playing the role on the show, but you should see the inbox sometimes where people will be like, I stored my yeast from your Chub Club in my freezer and I don't think it works. And I have to very politely be like, oh, where did you think that you should? You know, just so I know, it's maybe I'll relay that to them. And I think it only says refrigerate on their pouches anyway. But, yeah, I just wanted to cover bases because when you just say generically brewing yeast, you're specifically, though, referring to dry yeast in the context of this conversation. You don't want to take your pouches, whether they're the premium imperial pouches that we did or any other brand, and throw them in a freezer. Now, refrigerate, but again, those pouches, though, don't have the shelf life, the inherent shelf life as the dry yeast does. Like Todd said, I don't know. 3 years sounds long to me, but it is considerably longer if you were just to store it on the shelf as opposed to liquid yeast in a fridge. I think most liquid yeast really starts getting troublesome like 4 months in is when it's really like, make a starter. We're lucky. Imperials for the Chub Club sends us the freshest pouches a person could ever possibly get, unless you're hanging out at your local supply shop the day the shipment arrives. I'm telling you, James has seen it. You can vouch for me, dude.
Yeah.
They send us.
Well, Todd did it. I'll say this all the time, but it's amazing. He did a double batch of Kolsch one day. And he was started on the second batch, and the first batch started fermenting.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
That's incredible.
Yep.
The freshest yeast possible. And you can get it too when you join the recipe receiving tier of the Chub Club at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour. John, I appreciate you calling in. It's a great question. And like you said, it is a great problem to have. 11. I think that's more base grains than we have at any given time. 1,100 pounds is a lot. It is. That's fantastic. The guy is going to end up. This is how the beginnings of a homebrew supply shop start, John. So let us know how that endeavor works out. But if you want to be like John and leave a voicemail and get it played on a future episode and get yourself a $25 gift card to ketconnection.com, again, use our hotline 325-305-6107. You could use that same hotline to text and get yourself a $15 gift card. Like our second question of the show, our buddy Michael from Pennsylvania wrote in and said, Josh, at the end of the day, what does SG and FG matter? Standard and final gravity. What does starting gravity and final gravity matter if the beer tastes good? I used to heartache over missing targets. Now I relax, don't worry, and have a homebrew. Cheers, my brother. Michael is a longtime listener of the show. Not in the Chub Club yet. Not holding that against you, Michael. I took your question. You got a gift card. But it is a good point. At the end of the day, how much do you think, James, I'll start with you again. How much do you think people worry about things that, and in the bigger picture of what we're doing, don't matter? Or would you argue, no, Josh, numbers matter every time for the sake of brewing consistent beer every time?
Well, it does for me because it tells me how efficient my brew day was. It tells me how long or how viable the yeast is. there's a lot of things that you can tell when you know the starting and final gravity and how it's progressing as far as dropping in gravity, which means it's creating beer. So it's important to me. Plus, I like to know if I have a recipe, like on Brewer's Friend, I create a recipe. I generally shoot for 70% just to be on the safe side, especially if we're developing recipes for people out there in the field. Not everybody can hit 80% efficiency in their setup. So it's good to know, and I can tailor my own software to my brewing habits and my brew system. So my brew house efficiency is tailored for me, and I can't get those kind of results without knowing the starting and the final gravity.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I've heard the argument, I've seen it on Reddit, and I'm not making the argument, but people are like, well, 1,000 years ago, they didn't have the stuff to measure and all that. I'd say two things. One, 1,000 years ago, I guarantee you the beer sucked compared to what we experience today. Come on, you know it did. But also, I say it all the time. We are living in the best time ever to be a home brewer. It's so easy to have and affordable to be able to take readings and to know the information, like you said, James, so that in my point of view, it's just helping you brew good beer consistently good beer when you take readings. Now, Todd, I threw it to James first because he is not even James. Numbers matter to him, but you are the just ridiculous of over the top. Some brew days, I think you're taking that amount of readings just to troll me because I'm there, but you are the king of number taking. And when you got that Easy Dens, not a sponsor of the show, but wonderful product, please sponsor the show. You take readings because it just takes a tiny little bit now, and you're taking readings all the time. What are your thoughts behind why you take so many readings and the importance of knowing your gravity readings is to what you're doing with your homebrew?
Well, I think that was a gross misrepresentation. I never take more than 20 or so readings on my starting and final gravity. So when I first started brewing, a lot of times I didn't take a final gravity because I typically broke my hydrometer when I was doing the starting gravity.
No.
And I didn't have a backup. So, I would say that was extremely common when I started brewing. I brewed many batches of beer where I didn't take any readings, and they turned out fine. They tasted good, but we've gotten to the level now with our equipment and everything else. It becomes more and more important to me because I want to know, for one thing, I want to know how much alcohol is in the beer, because I like to tell people how much alcohol is in the beer. Because if I brew a beer and it's got 8% alcohol, I want people to know that,
Yeah.
And now I've noticed that some people know that and then they disregard it and become extremely intoxicated. And that's not my fault. That's their fault because I told them, right?
Yeah.
The other thing is our system is very efficient. And when we actually ferment, a lot of times we've gotten to the point where our gravity gets too low in the end. So, it can, if I don't, a lot of times I'll stop it at a certain point. Like I'll stop it at 10 because I don't want it to get down to 5 or 6 because it's not what I'm looking for in that beer. So, it depends on what you want in the beer and how you want the mouthfeel to be and how you want the alcohol to be and all these different things. To me, it's very important to know what the starting gravity is and what the final gravity is. Now, would I brew a beer and not do that? I would be willing to do that. It wouldn't. I don't. Okay, it would bug the crap.
It would bug the crap out of you.
But I could do it still. We'll do it someday.
I was about to make
any readings the whole brewing.
I was about to make a $5 bet with you that you can't. Your next brew day, you will not be able to go the whole brew day. And
next brew day. I'm just saying, I
no,
could do it at some point.
Because I want to make it now because you're going to forget, and I'm going to make another $5. Actually, no, I don't know you. You don't owe me $5 anymore because you blackmailed me to sending my wife that text.
Oh no, that was just a joke.
I know it was. I know it was, but James,
I would not send that text to your wife of what you said. She didn't listen to the show. She didn't listen to the show.
Okay. Liz texted me what she was making for Todd last night, and I was like, "Oh, must be nice." nice. I bet my wife is making me ramen or cold cereal. Hashtag white women.
And mac and cheese.
Mac and cheese.
The microwave
And
kind with
I
the
did
lid.
before Ladybug Lady or whatever, Dragonfly Lady. Don't come. Oh, you can't leave another review. Screw you, Dragonfly Lady. But last time I made fun of white women, she gave me a 1-star review. But anyways, I did hashtag white women. Oh, and then Todd immediately replies, Liz showed me your text. If you don't want me to send this to your wife, I was like, because you owe me $5. Anyway, back to Michael's thing though. Todd, you made a great point. Monitoring the gravity during fermentation can drastically change the end result from a beer like your system being so efficient and imperial yeast being so flocculent, or no, the wrong word. What attenuant?
Attenuation.
Yeah, their attenuation being so good and consistent. Like Todd said, some of your, like the Kolsch you did, you stopped it at like 10.8 or 10.9. How much drier and different of a beer would it be if you'd let it just go to completion? Like a natural, it would.
So that's interesting. I actually stopped the last one I did. I stopped at like 10, and then I turned the glycol chiller on so I'd cool it down. When I checked it the next day, it was at like 8. So it's still
It kept going.
It didn't cool down fast enough to stop it completely. So it's
which by the way,
it was absolutely phenomenal.
I was going to say the best.
I mean, it was one of the best
ever.
Kolsch's, homebrew Kolsch's I've ever had.
No, same.
Dang, I appreciate that. I wish I still had some of it. I do
too.
Have some of it.
Yeah.
I found that other keg.
Which again, though, to reinforce what I'm saying, you couldn't consistently brew it like that if you weren't taking numbers. That's where I was going with that. If you were just doing shoot from the hip and whatever, that's fine. Relax, don't worry, have a homebrew. But if you're looking to make like, dang, that recipe was really good, and you took numbers that recipe, then you could replicate it in theory every time you brew, assuming that you can replicate all the factors of like the temperatures and all that. But I'm just saying, without taking any kind of readings, you're kind of in the dark. But at the end of the day, to each their own. If like the Mr. Beer kits are probably the most brewed ones, and I don't think any of them come with a hydrometer or any way to read gravity. That is just a mix this packet and then enjoy the beer later. And a lot of people. No,
and they say also watch the bubbling.
Right,
so if it goes within 2 minutes between bubbles, then it's done.
Right.
That's how I learned when I first started.
Yeah.
So I would just watch the bubbles and knew when it was time to take a reading.
Yeah, exactly.
But final gravity readings tell a whole lot of things about a beer. It can tell you whether it's going to be sweet, it's going to have a lot of body, it's going to be dry. So I can't imagine somebody not wanting to take a final reading. First and final reading, because it tells you a lot about what you've done.
I'll say with that first one included too, you like Todd said, the knowing the ABV, it is important. Like the way I got the $5, by the way, friends, for context, I did bring those kegs up to y'all. James, yours is in the walk-in. I totally forgot to tell you. It's been in the walk-in since.
Oh, sweet! Yeah, I'm actually gonna have tap beer tonight.
Yeah, your keg of breakfast stop's been up there, and then Todd, yours is in your beer fridge because you didn't have any room in your keezer. Years past that my pop and I have made it, it's varied anywhere from 6.9 to 9 point something. So there is a difference when you're consuming beer between 6.9 and 9 point something, in regards to how much or how fast maybe you want to consume that. So this one, I believe, ended at 8.9. So it's fairly boozy. It's I don't know the definition of imperial. I think it's over 8%, but someone in the comments can correct me. I think a beer becomes imperial when it's 8% ABV or higher. But this one, it tastes great. It's boozy. Now they're not carbonated. That's what I meant to tell y'all too. Y'all got to carb them. I didn't carb them.
No problem.
So because
I appreciate you doing that.
Dude, that's my dad and I's favorite thing every year is brewing this batch. So no problem at all. Robert, thank you. Pardon me. That was Michael's question. Great segue to say thank you, Michael, when you texted into that, or you use the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. You get yourself a $15 gift card to kegconnection.com, or like our third question, another voicemail from our buddy Robert from Colorado. He called it in. He left a voicemail. He gets himself a $25 gift card, and we actually just helped Robert not that long ago, Todd, with the bid sale. So here's a voicemail. It's question number 3. It's our buddy Robert from Colorado.
Hi, guys. This is Robert Gill, and I'm calling from Colorado. I recently found out about Homebrew Happy Hour when I listened to the recording of your 2023 HomebrewCon presentation, Serving Your Homebrew, all about draft beer systems. I thought it was well done, and I found it very helpful. As I said, I brew and serve homebrew at an elevation of 10,000 feet, and I've always had issues with foaming. And I was thinking, after listening to your presentation, that this might be corrected if I switch to one of the flow control solutions that you discussed in your presentation. Since I'm still working my way through your recent podcast episodes, please excuse me if you've already answered this. So first, what are the differences between full flow control with C.M. Becker flow control faucets and limited flow control from other manufacturers' faucets? And would these differences make a difference when pouring a beer? And also, since you said you must use C.M. Becker shanks for full flow control, can you install them in a kegerator tower with multiple faucets? If not, does this mean you can only use C.M. Becker flow control faucets on a Keiser? Well, that's all for now. Cheers and keep up the great work. And I hope to hear you answer my question on here.
Thank you, my friend. And not only did he is it on here, we actually already helped him too. I love it when this happens. I actually texted you yesterday, Todd, and said, "Oh, he actually left a voicemail." I was that far behind on trying to get people who left voicemails a month ago. Which, again, by the way, that doesn't mean I'm full of voicemails. Please send them in. I love it because that validates that we have an audience. Sometimes Todd's like, "That question you took sounded like something you would say." I'm like, "No, I swear on my life, I don't have time to make up questions."
It's not me.
Yeah, it's
and the feedback too. We were joking about Jonathan earlier, but the reason you often pick his is he gives a really good feedback. He doesn't just say, "Hey man, I love the show."
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah. But he could be better about sucking up to me. But we're working on it, Jonathan. We're working on it. But anyways, Robert has a great question. Thank you for tuning in to our 2023. You can, if you're an active member of the Homebrewers Association, you can go in. They have all the sessions from like 20 years worth. I might be making that number up, from a long time of however long they've been recording them. This was one of the years they wouldn't, I couldn't record and republish it. So that's the only way to catch it. But we did, James, we kind of, we didn't have enough time to elaborate on every concept of a draft beer system. And so we've gotten people write in and call in about, like, y'all talked about full flow control and limited. Can you discuss what is the difference between what we call full flow control, with that C.M. Becker faucets can achieve, versus limited flow control, which is very popular faucets from Perlick, Nuka, Intertap, and whomever?
Yeah, the C.M. Becker flow control is designed to use larger ID hose, whether it's long draw, direct draw. We actually have a bullet. That's what I call it. Germany calls it a compensator, that sticks out the back of the faucet that interfaces with a specially machined shank for our flow control faucets. The cool thing is all our flow control shanks fit all our flow control faucets. So really, only thing you got to determine is whether you need a extra short 2.5, 5, or 8-inch shank. The reason why we think this is better is it's full flow control, full balance control at the head, versus some of the other manufacturers that have limited flow control, where they're designed to be, you can put them on a regular standard shank that's utilizing 3/16 line. So if you already got the restriction, it's not doing a whole lot. Because another thing too that we've run into before, and Todd can elaborate on this as well, not every shank has the same spacing from the back of the faucet to the inside cup of the faucet shank. And that's important because not all limited flow control faucets can work on every shank. We ordered some shanks from overseas the other day, and it looked like there was an inch cavity in that regular standard shank. So there's some things, some misnomers with flow control that's going out there with some of the ones that are in the market that aren't a full flow control shank that utilizes an interface compensator with a shank. So that's me, but I tell you, the expert on this is Todd. He knows a lot more than I do on this.
Todd, go for it. Take it over like you did at the
That
top.
is not true, James. James is very knowledgeable on flow.
Well, and let me say this real quick. He is extremely humble. If I knew more than Todd or as much, everyone would know. There would be no secret. I'd be like, Todd doesn't need to talk. Let me say this. But that's why I hardly talk. But go ahead, Todd.
No, just to reiterate, I think the biggest difference for me is that you have to restrict these other flow control faucets. You have to provide them with restriction. All they're doing is a little bit of fine tuning at the end. With our flow control, they don't need any restriction at all before they get to the faucet. Now, we just talked about this earlier today with a good customer of ours that does long draw systems, which is keep in mind, a totally different animal than what 99% of homebrewers do, because on a long draw system, you might have your PSI might be at 20 PSI versus, what we usually use is around close to 11. But if you're doing 22 PSI or 20 PSI to make up for the pressure, the back pressure on it, then now you've got something really different, because you need a lot of restriction. So, if you would normally put 5 feet of hose on there, you might have to put 10 feet of hose or 15 feet of hose. Probably not in a long draw, because you've also got a little bit of restriction in that 100-foot line that you have, but not very much. So anyway, the point of that is you may restrict it on a long draw a little bit. And that's what the guy was saying, that he was restricting it with like 4 feet of 3/16 hose. But you would never need to do that on a short draw system, because it's just, you don't need, it'll do all the restriction for you. You don't have to worry about it at all. And even on a long draw, the last system we put in, we didn't put any restriction. We didn't even put a choker hose on it. We ran it straight in with a longer hose, because it was about, what was it, James, about 35 feet?
30 exactly.
Yeah, and it was also very big hose. So, we were able to restrict it perfectly with that. So, I mean, that's what it boils down to, is just a very fine, a little bit of adjustment to absolute total control with our flow control faucets.
Right, and exactly. And the perk of, if it's not registering with them yet, to me, the benefit is, especially if you have a teaser, you can go as little of 5/16 line as you want. That or just the bare minimum of, okay, so you get to here. You don't have to balancing the system's the wrong way of saying it. But like he said, Todd, what is the shortest length of liquid line in your current teaser? Would it be like 3 feet or 1.5 feet?
I've got one that's
between
1 and 2 feet.
The one that the water's on.
I mean, it's this long. Yeah. It just goes from a shank straight down to a keg. So it's, maybe 1.5 feet long.
Well, hold on. If you ask my wife, that's 9 feet long, what you just did with your hands. Okay. How dare you? But,
that's the truth.
Hold on.
But anyway.
Okay. There we go. I have a soundboard with 3 effects, and it took me to the third one to get it. No, but that's for me, like my Pop and I's kegerators have 2 faucet towers, and I'll kill a bunch of birds with where I'm going with this. And they all have
with 1 stone, or how many stones?
With 19 stones. We have, we have 4 X1s. They're budget friendly and full flow control. Like James was saying, the same shanks use it. We don't have much longer on our liquid lines than I think 3 feet. And that was just because it was easier just to cut 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet, 3 feet. We don't even need that, because like you said, the compensation is happening at the point in the shank when that beer hits there. It's truly compensating the beer, as opposed to what you said with the limited, where no, your beer line's doing the restriction, and it's kind of a magician's illusion at the end of control. But you're not actually restricting at that point. You're like adjusting the flow. So it's not gonna be, in my opinion, I think it's not. I don't know.
Say that again. What was that last part? You're not really. What did you say?
I mean, the restriction's not occurring on a limited flow control at the point of dispense in the shank. It's happening from when it leaves.
It's happening because of the hose.
The hose length.
That's on there.
That's
where
the restriction is happening when it leaves the disconnect, goes in the liquid line, and travels that distance. You still have to do 5 feet plus of liquid line even when you're putting these on. Now, where I'm going with this too, where people will say, yeah, but it works with my existing shanks, and that's what I like. That's fine. We're not shaming you. I'm just saying there is a big functional difference between full flow control and limited flow control. If you're trying to go for what we talk about or what we show in some of our videos, you got to go with the full flow control. And the reason the shanks are proprietary is because it has to fit that bullet James is talking about, that compensating piece of equipment, where it is really cool when you take them apart to clean it, how simple everything is, but you can see why it works the way it works. And to make the workaround for people who are like, I have an old 2-faucet column tower, and unfortunately 2 Becker shanks aren't going to fit in there. They're just too large. What do I do? Well, Todd, you started carrying those T-towers in as little as 2-faucet up to 6-faucet, I think. I should know that as your marketing guy. 6-faucet, I'm confident. The T-tower resolves all of that issue when you replace the standard column tower.
Yeah, and we may not have past 6 or whatever it is. I thought there's 8. But anyway, we may not, whatever we have on our site, we could get as many as you want. So if you want a tower with 20 faucets on it, we can do that.
What does KC Beer have? Because y'all really did do that for KC Beer.
Well, I mean, we can do it. I mean, and I don't remember how many they have, but it's a lot. But we could do it's pretty much unlimited how many we could put in a tower. I mean, I probably couldn't put 200. Well, maybe we could.
$5 bet. $5 bet.
$5 bet. $5 bet. But you know, the most important thing is, you know, one of the reasons you use flow control is you want to be able to set it and have it flow perfectly like you would with 5 feet of beer line. But you also want to be able to compensate for issues that may come up, meaning the temperature rises in your keezer, which happens a lot, and you need a little more restriction, or it gets too cold and you need a little less restriction. So I think that's, and you brought up a really, really good point that we forgot to cover. James and I both forgot to cover. Thank goodness for you, Josh. Absolutely. You can use it in a tower. You cannot use it in your standard round tower because you can't get the shanks are too long to be able to work in a 3-inch tower with, say, 3 taps. You can do it with 1, but not 2 or 3. But we make
still
towers,
tight.
Yeah, we make towers for you to be able to do it with any size tower.
Yeah, and if you're at youtube.com/homebrew happy hour, the link's in the description, or the show notes, guys, are always available at homebrewhappyhour.com. I know most people who listen audio only, I don't know how many apps include the show notes. I use Pocket Cast, and every podcast I listen to, it does have the show notes. I have no idea if Apple Podcast does or Spotify, no clue. But if it does, they'll be there so you can see what we're talking about. One of the other things, before I wrap up this question, I love about the T-Tower, anyone who has a column tower with more than 1 faucet, even with 1 faucet, you open that cap, Todd, when it comes time to replace the tubing or whatever. Even you guys who are like, I'm a diehard duo tight because it makes things easier. That space is such a bummer to work with in there with your tower wrench and whatever. I hate it. The T-towers of whatever size give you so much more workable space. Literally, that was worth its weight in gold for me of switching to T-towers. And there it is. James has it up on the screen.
Okay, this is our X1, and you can see this is the bullet compensator, so the shank has got to interface with that. So you can see there's probably this much room behind the faucet that you just don't have room for in the 3-inch tower. So a T-tower is definitely the way to go.
Golly, that space behind that, hold it up again, that's a good 7.5 inches behind it. Wow.
Well, not that much. I mean, it's...
He's, yeah.
Oh,
all right.
Right over my head.
and listen,
like, that's not 7 inches.
Oh, who are you, my wife? Who are you, my wife? God,
You've been fishing with the wrong people.
Yeah, the fish is always this big when I'm telling the story. Yeah. But anyway,
and by the way, we're always pretty slow. People think of Christmas as being a busy time. We get pretty slow the last 2 weeks of December. Very slow. I mean, we're thinking about doing we're thinking about doing some kind of a marketing deal to try to save Josh's job the last 2 weeks of December. So, if anybody out there needs a tower with 40 faucets on it, Don't worry about going to the website. Call me personally. I'll get you set up.
Hey,
on that.
and no, yeah. And to wrap it up, to really wrap it up, I promise for real this time, guys. Robert called the Cyber Monday, and I answered the phone. Y'all were gone, and got him set up and hooked up and all that. I think I will brag about our company. We're a small company, mom and pop, but when you call, a human answers the phone, and it's usually one of us three. When I'm up there, if I'm not up there, it's always James or Todd. Like 99.99% of the time, unless...
Well, sometimes somebody else will answer and say, hang on a minute, let me get you James.
But I'm saying, though, even then, 99% of the time when y'all are there, one of you guys are answering. And I got a kick out of it. I finally got to be that guy when I answer the phone. People go, is this Josh from Homebrew Happy Hour? Todd, now I know what you feel like, buddy. It's I really got to my head. I was peacocking around the office like after I helped someone on the phone. Oh, just helped a podcast listener. Yeah, no big deal. The people who work for us have no idea. They could not care less about the podcast. They're like, well, okay, whatever. Didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, people in the office told me they were going, "Hey, Josh," and he would go, "It's Josh from Homebrew." Yeah,
You're joking, but I said that. Anyways, but Robert, glad we could help you out, and thank you for calling in and leaving that great question. Our final question, it's not going to take long. I just included it because it made me laugh. It's another voicemail. It's our buddy Chris from California.
All right, Josh, I got a technical question for you here. When you whirlpool manually in a G40, do you stir clockwise or counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere? All right, brother, take care.
At first, I thought it was one of those like Saw questions where your family's life is on the line. Which way? I've always done clockwise, and I only brought it up because James, I'm a sucker for details and dragging out a show. It doesn't matter which way you whirlpool, right? It really doesn't matter.
No, because, well, for example, on our
I can't believe you asked that question. Oh God.
We have nozzles that point the flow in one direction, so it doesn't really matter. I'm sure he's referring to the northern and southern and the toilet flushing, and it doesn't matter with the Browtog because we have nozzles that point a certain way.
And the G40, I've always done it clockwise. Again, that's just my natural thing. I'm going to actually point it the other way. I'm doing a live brew day. I'm going to try to do it on New Year's Day, Todd, like we did a couple years ago.
Nice.
And so I'm going to try doing it counterclockwise. I'm going to see if it's possible. Chris, what do you have for that? Chris actually came to our presentation. I'm like 95% sure he came there. I know he was at HomebrewCon. I think he came to our presentation. He made it seem like he was going to, but another longtime listener of the show.
It was nice to meet him and all the other listeners. Dude, that was so much fun. It
was so much fun. We do, whenever they open it up for next year's, it's a combo. I'm going to try to get us in as media if we go at all. But you remember, it's combining with the Great American Beer Festival. So James has never been to GABF. I think that alone is a fun event to go to. I've only been once and had the time of my life, even though we were working it. But if we can get free entry in as media, and I can fool the Brewers Association into thinking we're reputable, I can do that. Y'all saw,
and we could totally drive there too.
Yeah, y'all saw my application for HomebrewCon last year. I fooled them that time. I can do it again. So. Don't say anything.
Amen, brother.
Yeah. Anyways, Chris, thank you for calling in. The final reminder, guys, we would love your feedback or your questions when you call it into 325-305-6107. You get yourself a $25 gift card. Gentlemen, that's all I've got for y'all this week.
Good. It was good to be back.
Yes,
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all's time, and I'll see y'all when I get back from the beach.
Ciao.
All right.
And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or even better, call it in, leave a voicemail, get yourself a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com and be Todd's best friend when you use the hotline 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsors like Muntins Malt, premium grains for a better brew day. If you aren't already brewing with Muntins, give them a try by joining our Trub Club at a recipe receiving level. For the best hops available online, give our friends at hopsdirect.com a visit and pick up what you need for your next brew day. Also, get a pack of Imperial Yeast along with premium recipes from us when you join the Trub Club. Go to patreon.com/homebrew happy hour and come brew with us. On behalf of Todd Burns, James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thanks for listening.